Hey everybody, today I'm talking about Santa Maria, which is a board game that was released in 2017. This one accommodates 1 to 4 players and takes around 45 to 90 minutes to play. The key mechanisms in this game are dice drafting and resource management, and the idea of the game is to get as many happiness points as you can by the end of 3 rounds. Now the layout of the game is going to look somewhat like this, where you've got this central board here with lots of different tracks and different orders you can fulfill, and these different slots where the dice are allocated at the start of the round. So these have been rolled randomly and allocated to the matching spots. You've got a number of tiles that are going to be laid out from round to round, and these are going to be available for the players to purchase to add onto their individual player boards, which look like this. Now, the individual player boards are a big part of the game and the kind of user interface of the game where you're going to use the actions from turn to turn. So as you can see from this board here, you've got this kind of cross-section or these references depicted by these different dice faces. So you've got the blue dice here that go from 1 to 6 and the white that go from 1 to 6. Now the white ones are going to correspond to the dice that you're going to draft, and the blue ones are almost your personal supply of dice. The side of the player board is going to show your capacity for holding different resources. So you've got some basic resources here such as the wheat and the wood, and you've got the more kind of luxury resources such as the gold, the sugar and the gems here. And at any time during the game, you can always sell these or even buy them in should you want to. But as you can see from the player board here, you have got a capacity of only being able to hold 3 at a time. So let's talk about some of the actions you're actually going to do in this game and how you are going to acquire those happiness points. So the first thing you can do in this game is to purchase these tiles to add onto your player board. So you've got the smaller tiles here, which are going to cost you 2 wood, and you've got the bigger ones, which are going to cost you 2 wood and a wheat. And when you pay those resources to the bank, you're going to select one of them and you are going to add them to your player board here. So let's just say, for example, here I did this. I'm not going to think too hard about what my strategy is here. And that's important because, again, it's going to boost the actions that you can take from turn to turn. So that's the kind of first choice you can make. The second thing you can do is to pay money to activate one of these buildings. So, for example, here, the first building I'm going to use is going to cost me 1 coin. The second one is going to cost me 2, and then 3, and so on. So, for example, here, if I wanted to get a crystal, I could just put 1 money on there and take a crystal from the supply, and again, add it to my player board. The other choices you can make are relating to the dice themselves, and these are going to be your main actions, or at least the strongest actions you can take. So as you can see here, you have got a limit of dice available to all the players, and this does scale depending on the player count. So it's 3 dice per player. So in a 2-player game, you've got 6. And what you're going to do is you're going to select one of these. Let's say, for example, I selected one of these 3s, and then I'm going to allocate it to the corresponding column. And then going from the top to the bottom, I'm going to activate all the buildings, all the different locations on my player board here. So first off, I'll go to this spot here, which would get me a wood, and let me go up this prayer track, which I'll talk about shortly. And then I'm going to take 2 money. So you're going to activate them in order, but the last building in that row or column that's at least active, you are going to place that die on there to show that it is now used. And the same is going to apply to the money as well. That means that it's used for this round and you're not going to be able to do it again. Now the blue work in exactly the same way, except these are personal. They can't be bought by other players. Again, you're going to roll them at the start of the turn, and then you're going to activate the corresponding buildings. So again, if I had the 1 here, I would simply get 1 shipping action. I would normally get this one here, but I've already spent it, so I can't use it again. Now, something that is worth mentioning is you have got a good degree of mitigation with these dice. So if you wanted to boost or kind of lower the pip value of these dice, you can actually choose to pay money to move it or rotate it up or down 1 pip per coin you spend. And as you can see here, the different actions are pretty simple, such as shipping, which again I'll talk about shortly, going up the tracks, getting resources. This is another track. There are also some buildings that you can buy, which will let you convert goods into others. Say, for example, here I can convert a wood or a gem into 3 coins. And different things like that. So again, the more the game goes on and the more buildings you're going to add onto your player board, boosts your potential to take more actions from round to round. So let's talk about what some of the other actions do. So the first action I'm going to talk about is this Conquistador track, which is very simple. It's essentially a push to get to, or as far as you can on this track here. I've only got 1 player piece here, but normally all the players would be on here. And basically for each time that you use this Conquistador track or the action, you are going to move along this track here and essentially get gold along the way. Gold's really useful because it's a wild resource. But also, at the end of the round, whoever's got the farthest on this track is going to get a number of points depending on the player count. So, for example, in a 2-player game, in the first round, the person furthest along the track is going to get 4 points. Then in the second round, 5 points. In the third round, 6 points. And again, depending on how that scales, it is going to be adjusted accordingly. So this is just going to be a steady way of getting points. And then at the end of each round, you're going to reset back to the bottom. The second track is slightly more interesting. This one is the kind of worship track here, where the further you go along this track here, you're going to potentially cross these monk spaces and also these die spaces here, these blue die spaces. And if you ever cross those, you're going to unlock another die to be able to use on your turn, which will again let you activate more buildings going from left to right. So again, potential for more actions from round to round. And these monk spaces are interesting because whenever you cross them, you're going to use one of these monk tokens on one of these potential options here, which are either going to give you endgame bonuses if it's one of these tiles, or potential powers as the game goes on. So let's talk about what some of those do. So, for example, this one here basically means that you can use your blue die on the vertical axes rather than the horizontal axes. So it gives you a lot more flexibility, and they will potentially offer you points. You've got this one here where you can cash in a wood or a wheat in order to choose the die face that you want. You've got this one here, which corresponds to the shipping action, which I'll talk about shortly. And you've got these other ones here, which give you kind of potential endgame bonuses, but they will cost you 2 points before you even get those bonuses. So it's something you're going to have to invest in and take that hit. So for example, here, this one will give you 2 points for each particular type of shipping that I've taken, which again, I'll talk about shortly. This one will give you 2 points for every city that's connecting to your original home building. So again, every player starts with a potential home region like this, but for every city connecting to it, for example, this one here, I'm going to get 2 points for. And this one here is going to basically correspond to your grid reference. So if you've got a 3x3 grid completed of different actions, you're going to get 4 points, a 4x4, 7 points, and a 5x5, 10 points. Additionally, you've got these other options here, which maybe are just a bit more simple, such as getting 2 sugar, 2 gems, 1 gold, or 3 happiness. Now, something that's important is, and corresponds to the race element here, is that when you cross these, of course, you get to allocate one of these monks here like this, but for every person who wants to take that action after you, they're going to have to pay 2 coins to that player. So getting in there quicker is going to be advantageous. The final action is the shipping action, which corresponds to this left side of the board here. And when you take that action, you are going to cash in the relevant resource to fulfill that order. So for example here, this one just requires 1 gem. I'll discard the gem and I'll take this tile and I'll put it to the side of my player board here on the matching space. So as you can see, that happy face symbol matched the place that I bought it from. And this is going to be important because not only are they going to give you victory points at the end of the game, as you can see here, this one gave me 2 happiness points, but also when you've passed, after you've run out your actions, you're going to gain resources and actions from top to bottom using this guide here. So you're going to get 2 coins for every one of these orders you fulfilled. You're going to go up the Conquistador track for every one of those. You're going to go up the prayer track for every one of those, and you're going to get a happiness point for every one of these you've fulfilled. And again, these are going to get replenished and potentially get more difficult to make. Obviously, the harder orders are going to give you more points, but it does give you a good option of engine building, which will not only give you victory points at the end of the game for each kind of fulfilled or complete column you've got, but will correspond to certain bonuses like this one here. And once a player has run out of actions, run out of options by spending all their money or using all their dice, then they're going to have the option to be able to pass, where they are going to take their marker and put it on one of these bonus abilities here, again, such as getting money, going up the prayer track, going up the Conquistador track, shipping, or taking one of these general kind of crossroads tiles. And when you do that, you're going to get the bonus instantly, but also the higher you are up on this track, you're going to potentially be the first player for the next round. So that's going to be essentially how the game's going to play. Once the third year is over, or at least each year is over, you're going to replenish the set of tiles available. You're going to take all your dice back and be able to go again with a new boosted board. So let's talk about how I feel about Santa Maria. So the thing I really took away from Santa Maria was the puzzle aspect of these individual player boards. I think this mechanism is really clever and can actually have a lot more depth than might first meet the eye. For example, the order in which you're going to do things is important. Of course, you are subject to the dice that are available in the first place, so there is a real scarcity of getting there. Of course, you have got some flexibility in terms of spending your money, but you're going to want your money to activate more buildings. So there really is that decision space of what you're going to do and the priority, or how you're going to prioritize those actions. For example, here, you might really want to use this conversion building here. You might really want money, and you want to convert crystals or wood into money. But in order to do that, you are going to want to do the other action first by perhaps using this 6 column. Because of course you'd activate everything along the way and then block off the bottom action. But if I was to do it in the other order by maybe using a 2 and using this column here, you've got to bear in mind that you'll be blocking that off, so you'd only get one use out of it. So doing it in the right order is so important to get more mileage out of your building and keep spamming the actions that you really want to take. And I think that is really clever. You can really stockpile on a particular number if you want to. For example, here my 4 is going to get me a load of sugar and resources. But if I don't have a 3, then I'm going to be backed into a corner and have to adjust otherwise. Or you can take a more kind of varied and balanced approach. So that is really up to you about how you're going to lay out this board. But of course, you are going to want to complete those rows and columns for other bonuses as well. You're always going to be subject to the bonuses that are out here. So you're going to be working to try and fulfill as much criteria as you can to get as many points as you can. And it really does come together in a really nice puzzle that I think is wonderfully streamlined, actually. Just the fact that it's boiled down into a few very simple actions. Take use your blue die, draft one of the white dice. You can buy a new building, or you can just spend money to actually activate the buildings in the first place. So very simple mechanically, but the depth of the gameplay is impressive. Again, particularly stemming back to how you are going to puzzle out these actions to be as most efficient as you can. And I also like the capacity of the resources as well. You've only got 3 of each, so you can't just keep spamming the same buildings, potentially because you will be just wasting them, because you can only ever hold 3 at the same time. Additional mechanisms are pretty simple. You've got the standard track traveling as you have with a lot of Euros, going down the tracks, trying to get these most victory points by going as far as on this track, trying to activate or unlock more blue dice for yourself to use. But I do really like these options to invest in terms of the ongoing player powers. These are really useful and add a lot of flexibility into your game. And of course the end game scoring as well, which can pull you in different directions and make you adjust on the fly. I also really love this shipping action here, where very simple contract fulfillment. Just a couple of resources at a time. Some of them are harder than others, and I love the way that will automatically just generate a bit of an engine for you. A very simple engine, but an effective one, where you are going to get follow-up actions when you pass, and you're getting more money, going up the tracks again, and just simply getting victory points. I think it all just comes together very seamlessly. It's remarkably smooth, and I think very well streamlined for a game that achieves so much with so little. I really enjoy the balanced strategies you can go down. Of course, you can really focus on going up this track and getting all these add-on bonuses here. You can focus on shipping. You can focus on dominating this track. You can focus on getting the kind of engine going that you want. And of course, always getting the most optimal player board you want. And all these approaches are very well balanced. Everything seems equally appetizing or inviting in what you want to do. You are going to find yourself at the beginning of each round thinking, what the hell am I going to do? I want to do everything. There's a really nice tile there I want. There's only 1 4 die here that I really need. And of course, there's a contract here that I really want to fulfill before somebody else does. So I think the balance of this game is really well done, and I've got no issues whatsoever. And I have confidence that every approach you can take is really strong and equally as strong. And the variability of these tiles is fantastic. You have got other options here that you can use to spice the game up from game to game and always give you a different feel. So yeah, I like that. Of course, the different order that the tiles are going to come out is going to give you a different approach to actually lay the tiles and build your engine in the first place. So yeah, there's some good amount of replayability here as well that are going to just make the game feel slightly different each time you play it. The player interaction really does shine through in terms of the scarceness of the resources and the different options you can take. As I said, you are going to want to beat people to the contracts you want, and you will find yourself with that turn angst thinking, God, please don't fulfill that contract, and they will, and you find yourself frustrated, but that's a good kind of frustration. Of course, as well, with the available die here, or dice, you've only got a few options, and you're not showered in options here, and of course, sometimes you're going to find yourself with a bunch of 5s there and only one. But again, which order are you going to do things on? Are you going to use that 1 before it's as powerful as it could be, because you might want to buy a tile before you activate that 1 column, or are you just going to bite the bullet and go for it now? So I love the the tenseness and the race to take the actions that you want, and again, prioritizing your actions in the way that you think is going to best pay off. The production quality of the game is decent. I think the actual components themselves are of a good quality. You've got nice robust tiles here. These tiles are all going to hold up to repeated play. They're nice and thick tiles, nice dice. You've got the decent player board here. So I've got no issues at all with the actual components themselves. The resources are all individually cut; they're not just cubes. So I think it does have a nice component quality. I think the artwork itself is somewhat bland. I mean, I don't dislike it, but it's certainly not anything particularly glamorous or anything like that, but it does what it does well. It fits quite a lot on to a rather small board here. It creates quite a small table footprint, I suppose. So yeah, I've got no issues at all. It's probably something you would expect with a Euro game like this. Perhaps could have been turned up a little bit in terms of its vibrancy, but no issues at all. I tend to like these kind of muted looks. The sense of progression in the game, I think, is excellent, particularly the way that the game boards or your individual player boards develop. You really can get some really optimal turns if you have a particularly strong row of actions and you activate them all. It's just a nice chaining mechanism, particularly as well, where you might go up a track which will get you more resources or give you more of these placement spots here and unlock more die. So I really do like that kind of cascading and comborific feel that this game offers you when you do have a particularly strong action. So that really does build up as well as the game goes on. Of course, you're going to be generating more powers and more endgame scoring as the game goes on as well. So again, it all just ramps up nicely in a concise 3 rounds, and that does feel snappy. I mean, at first you're going to feel like you're not achieving much, but by the end of it, you're taking big, magnificent turns. And the time investment as well. I mean, not only are the turns quick, the game is actually really quick as well. I think at 4 players, you are going to hit that 90-minute mark. But if you're playing with 2, I don't see why you can't get this played in under an hour. So overall, I am massively impressed with Santa Maria. This is a game that's been recommended to me for many years because I really enjoy dice drafting, and this is a really strong example of a game of that genre. I think it does everything wonderfully. Got some very simple mechanisms here, such as the track climbing. But, the crux, as I said at the beginning, is this player board. I think this is such a fun mechanism. I tend to really like puzzly games, and this one blends that puzzle style with the Euro-esque feel that I really like. So I'm so impressed with this. I find this immensely satisfying. That chain reaction of taking all these actions is so much fun, and it really does feel like you're taking off as the game goes on. I think it's wonderful. The puzzly aspect of which order you're going to resolve things in really does shine through for me, and was one of the main things I took away from this game. I love it plays so quickly. It's engaging from start to finish. The turn angst is so strong in this one, and I think it just offers everything that I want from a Euro game. I think it's done the rules extremely elegantly, and it's just a breeze to teach, it's a breeze to play, but it still does have that depth, and it's going to hook you to keep coming back to it and to be as efficient as you can each time you play it. Apart from this puzzly aspect here, the rest of it is just the kind of bells and whistles, but it does it really well. Even just the ability of being able to, or wanting to pass before other players do, so that you can take the actions you want. Because, you might run out of shipping actions on your player board here, and the only one available is the one to pass on. And when you pass it, you can do the contract you want, which could pay off. I love the different, the exchange of abilities and endgame bonuses you can take from game to game just injects more life into this one, and they're all interesting as well. Some are better than others, but I really do like the way and the approach that some of them have taken. Just a plethora of options here. Really satisfying gameplay, and just a wonderful Euro game that is just right up my alley. So if you do like these dice drafters, you do like your puzzly style games, then this one is certainly one to check out. It's an absolute breeze to play, it's a joy to play, and it is ultra satisfying. So that is Santa Maria. Definitely check this one out if you are a fan of your Euros. I was really hesitant to, well, I'm not quite sure what I was going to grade this one at. I think I'm just going to sneak it under my Elite Shield, so it's going to get a very, very strong shield of quality. Potential for this one to climb up even more than that, and I'll keep you updated if that is the case. So this is Santa Maria, an excellent, excellent dice drafter. If you have enjoyed this review, please hit like and subscribe to my channel and check out my other videos too. For everyone else, I'll see you next time on Chairman of the Board. Bye.